Hello, I am the movie nut, and I just watched The Boys. So a couple of weeks ago, I got my Amazon Amazon Prime Video subscription, and I was wondering what show am I going to start with first. And I'm not a big TV show guy. I find it really hard to get into shows a lot of the time because it's such a big time commitment, and I have a lot of hobbies and stuff. So I'm not a huge TV show guy. Like I don't sit and watch every show from every season because no one has time for that. And I saw The Boys and I was like, I like superheroes, I like gore, I like black comedy, and I kind of had a vague idea of what it was about. So I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch it. And since season 2 is coming out this Friday, I think, as of now, I'm recording this on a Monday, August 31st, and it's coming out the 4th of September. So I thought, what a great time to review the first season, and it'd be a great video to start off this movie slash TV reviewing channel that I have right now. I really like the show. I'm going to start with that. Just as a general tone of the review, if you didn't like it, you're not going to like this review. Overall, mostly positive experience. I have things I liked and things I didn't like written down, so I'm going to go with things I liked first. So if you're wondering if I recommend the show, yes, I do. This is also my first review that I've done in this style, so if it's a little bit choppy and weird, I've never done this before, so, bear with me, I'm learning. When I sat down to watch The Boys, all I knew was superheroes are dickheads, and there's a group of people that keep them in line, which was kind of the synopsis that I found. I didn't watch any trailers, I didn't know anything about the plot when I went into it except what I just said, and it's not really accurate. I thought these were going to sort of be like superhero killing specialists, kind of, that go around and uncover like fucked up stuff that they're doing. And it's kind of like To Catch a Predator, but superheroes, if that makes sense. And it's not really like that. The basic synopsis is a guy's girlfriend is killed by a superhero who's being really careless. And then he's greeted by another guy who says, well, let's go fuck them up, basically. But they have no powers, and they have their own skills. They're all like ex-CIA, kind of, or except for one or two of them. But they're not very good at what they do. And that was one of the things that I liked about the show that I'll get into in a bit. The main thing I liked about it was the characters. The main character, the audience sort of self-insert, his name is Huey. And at first I was worried he was going to be annoying, because a lot of those like self-inserts are like, oh, I can't kill, I'm scared. And they get really boring really quickly. And he wasn't like that. There'll be spoilers in this review, by the way, as well. But for the first half, I'm going to try and keep it spoiler light. But basically, he wasn't annoying. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. He wasn't afraid to, take part. I hate like passive protagonists like that, where everyone's killing around them and they're just there for us to process the stuff. Like just lazy self-inserts, kind of. I don't really like them. But I thought he was a great character. He was a lot more interesting than I thought he was going to be. His relationship with his girlfriend was obviously short. The synopsis of the show is that she dies. But what I liked was when he becomes interested in another character, it's not rushed. That's one of my least favorite tropes, is like a guy, his girlfriend dies, and then he finds someone else immediately. I hate that stuff. But in this, it's like, when he finds someone else, it's sort of like, it's him overcoming grief in a way, which I thought was really interesting and surprising. All of the boys, the good guys, are excellent. Karl Urban plays Billy Butcher. Also, I should have mentioned Jack Quaid plays Huey, Dennis Quaid, and Meg Ryan's son. He's fucking cool. Karl Urban plays Billy Butcher, who is his wife has gone missing or dead 8 years ago, and he has this personal murderous vendetta against supes or superheroes. And this man is a crazy sumbitch. He is probably the funniest character. He's definitely the one written to be the funniest, and most of what he says lands. He comes across a little bit one-dimensional at the start, and then as the show goes on, your expectation, like, of who you think he is a bit, it's not quite. The show does that a lot, which I'll get to, but it's unpredictable in the sense of, I thought it was going to go that way, and it was kind of different. Like, so, not crazy turns here and there. For the most part, it just kind of, like, throws you off a little bit. Enough to keep it interesting, but not, like, oh, that's stupid, you know what I mean? The rest of the characters are pretty good, like all the boys, all the superheroes, or heroes, I say in quotations. Starlight is the audience self-insert on the superhero side. She's this like wannabe superhero, and she goes and joins the Seven, who are like the most powerful superheroes in the world. And she realizes pretty quickly that they're all scumbags, but she won't let that interfere with her character, or for the most part. And I thought she was going to be really annoying as well, sort of like holier than thou, naive shit. But she doesn't take long learning how to deal with these people, and she becomes quite likable for that. It's like, yeah, I'm not perfect, but unlike these people, I'm trying to be good, and she doesn't take shit from anybody. And like, I don't like when female characters are like, I am strong, I am powerful. Like, she's just is without having to say it, which is great. Tell don't show, or show don't tell. Fuck yeah. She just is, and that's great. The rest of the Seven, with the exception of Black Noir, who doesn't really do anything, the rest of the Seven are all pretty interesting. Some of them are kind of annoying. Like A-Train is annoying, but that's kind of the point. He's basically the Flash. The Deep is like a slimy scumbag, but then weirdly sympathetic in the last few episodes. Some stuff happens to him that you almost feel bad for him, but half of you is like, yeah, fuck you, you deserve that. And by far the best character in the show is Homelander. Now, the show is a year old, so if you're watching this review, maybe it's like a prep for season 2. Homelander is the best character in the show by a significant margin. He's one of the best TV villains I've ever seen. Superman, if he was a sociopath, he's just disturbing. And the more the show goes on, he really just gets even more powerful psychologically. You think he's kind of a pawn at the start, but as the show goes on, you realize he's not even close to a pawn. And I'll get into that in like the spoilery section, because the things I didn't like are pretty much all spoilers. No, he's an incredible character, and the actor Anthony Starr is clearly, like, as an actor myself, you can tell when an actor's having fun, and everyone in the show really is having a great time, but he's just chewing the scenery in the best way. He's just insane, and it's beautiful. Another thing I really liked was the visual style of the show. It's not crazy, it's just very, like, harsh looking, maybe because I think it was shot in Toronto, so maybe it's because it's cold, but everything looks quite white, like contrasty, I thought, which, because a lot of superhero stuff looks quite warm and welcoming, even like the Bleaker movies, like just their color palette's quite, easy to watch, whereas The Boys looks kind of stark and bleak. Even when the superheroes are in front of the spotlight, they don't look friendly, they look alien, kind of. Bit Man of Steel looking sort of vibe, and I really like that. I like how the universe feels like ours with superheroes in it. It doesn't feel like a superhero world, which I thought was really cool. I like the action scenes, but there's very few action scenes in it, which I actually say is a positive. There's not a lot of superhero punch-ups, which is a good thing, and I'll get to that in the negatives. The action scenes that they do have are mostly human on human, or superhero on human, and they're very one-sided. There's no like superheroes really going hand to hand with humans, or there's no humans winning fights with superheroes that they shouldn't. If they do win, it's because of ingenuity and strategy, which made every action scene more entertaining, because it's like, okay, how are they going to get out of this? Because like with their limited resources, it wasn't just a big punch up, they had to outsmart them. So anytime a human beats a soup in a fight, it's cathartic as shit. And also pretty clever. Like, minor spoiler for the first episode, but Billy Butcher's fighting a superhero called Translucent, who's invisible. He gets punched in the mouth and he's bleeding, so he spits on him, and now all of a sudden he can follow the blood cloud. Like, shit like that is so creative to me, and I love fight scenes like that where the powers are used well. It wasn't just a boxing match, basically, or like people throwing each other through walls. So there's only one fight scene in the show that I thought was like really well done, like, and it's in fourth episode, I think, between Black Noir and the female, who's one of the boys, who's not actually a boy, and she's also the only woman who's a superhero. And as far as fight choreography, that was an easy standout. Mostly I just liked how rare the action scenes are, and how it's not often superhero on superhero. Leaves us excited for season 2 that way, because they have a bigger budget now. The humor, definitely subjective. A lot of people might find the show annoying. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. That's just my style of humor. Very bleak. A lot of physical comedy through the gore and stuff. and then just some great like meta commentary. And yeah, another positive, the social commentary in the show is pretty good. This comic is like 10 years old. I didn't even mention that this is a comic adaptation because I didn't read it, so I don't want to compare. I'm just reviewing the show in isolation. This doesn't feel 10 years old, 15 years old, however old it is. It feels very current. Maybe the writers changed some stuff to be more up to date, but the stuff about, Starlight trying to make it into the superhero business and things you have to do to get ahead is very pressing right now. Well, more so in like 2018, but it's still a hot issue with like, Me Too and things like that. So I thought that was handled really well, and how even when she comes out, there's people who are saying she's only doing it for attention, but it's not done in like a ham-fisted way. I thought it was done very intelligently, and like I'm not a big fan of like woke stuff for the sake of it, but this show definitely, because it's a breakdown of superhero culture, it needed to have stuff like that in it, and I thought it handled it pretty well. Like with the exception of one episode that I have seen get a bit of backlash that I'll talk about in the things I did like, but for the most part, this show handles its social commentary well. And then the gore could put some people off. It's very like cartoonish gore. Like I don't find it very realistic. It's not like body horror or anything like that. It's easy to stomach if you don't mind it. And for the most part, it's done well. There's only one instance I can think of where I think it's a bit pointless, I guess. Gratuitous is the word. I like gore, but sometimes it's unnecessary, and I'll get to that in things I didn't like, which is now. So, as I mentioned, Homelander is like pretty much the main villain of the show, and he's fucking incredible. But there's another villain called Madeline Stillwell, who is the head of Vought, who's like the superhero owner company place. And yeah, the company that's in charge of superheroes. And she, in the first couple episodes, seems to be in control of everything. She seems to have Homelander like wrapped around her pinky and all this other stuff. But when you find out that, so spoilers obviously in this section, a guy mentions to her, like a business partner mentions about Compound V, which is the main scheme of the show, and she says, I don't know anything about that, and then his plane gets shot down, and you think, oh, she told Homelander to shoot it down, but you find out, no, he did that of his own accord. Certain other things like Compound V, you think she's running that operation, she's not. Homelander is, and I thought she was a really good villain at the start, but as it goes on, she's kind of just a puppet for Homelander, which makes him an incredible villain, but her a mediocre one, which was a bit disappointing because I thought she could have been great as that sort of female Weinstein-esque boss that everyone has to bow to her. So she wasn't an awful villain, but because of how amazing Homelander was as the show went on, she became pointless, which is why she died in the last episode, because Homelander never actually needed her. So it was good in that sense, but she could have been better. Obviously, like I'm not really going into detail about the full plot because again, these are only like little spoilers. Well, no, they're not little spoilers, but like I'm not going through the whole story of the show. If you've got this far in the video, you already know what the story is, and if you haven't, then I don't want to say anything about it, so no point. As I said, some gore is a bit gratuitous. I didn't really like it. One scene which involved a superhero called Popclaw sitting on a guy's face and crushing it. Funny, but kind of pointless. It didn't really add anything other than to be like, oh shit, because they needed to get something on her to blackmail her, but they could have just shown her using Compound V and then blackmailed her that way. So it was a bit pointless, but I can see a lot of people liking that. I was just like, you didn't need to, but it was fine. And then lack of budget, which isn't their fault, but any superhero and superhero fight scene in this is a little bit iffy with effects. Having seen the trailer for season 2, the budget gets better for sure, but that's why I was happy that they kept it to not superhero fights, because whenever they tried to do that, it just came across a little bit cheap looking, which is, is how it was, and I don't mind it, but it's something to note. Like, the effects aren't crazy, they're not bad, they hold their own, but they're not like exceptional. So if you're coming in and you see the effects and you're disappointed, just keep your expectations kind of like measured, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about regarding The Boys. Characters are great, I love the visuals, most of the action scenes, humor is pretty funny subjectively, and social comedy is handled well. And then some characters are mishandled, some of the gore isn't the best used, and the lack of budget is kind of obvious. But overall, I really, really like the show, and I'm really excited for season 2. There's room to improve on it, but hopefully they don't drop the ball and the sophomore slump isn't a thing, and the show continues to grow and hopefully become a massive success, because every actor in this is killing it, and the script is great too, and the direction is great. So I'm going to give the first season of The Boys an 8.5 out of 10. So that's my first review done on the channel. Sorry if it seemed a bit rambly and blah, 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 blah. I'm working on it. Also, TV show reviews are going to be longer than movie reviews. I'm still trying to get better at this. I've never done it before, so you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit, write it out, and hopefully things can only improve from here. First video, a lot of work. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more reviews like this one. I am the Movie Nut, and I will see you guys again next time.